Okay, so this is part 2 of my Titanic collection. So, I said in my previous video that my other video, my Titanic collection that I did about 8 or 9 months ago was on my channel. But actually it's on my other channel. It's not on this one. This part 1 was actually the first video on this channel because I ended up setting up a new username. So, but all you'd have to do is view my other videos, search Titanic collection. And then when the search results come up, it should be on the first page under the name, username. I forgot the username, but you'll be able to recognize the background and me just by the video thumbnail. So anyway, next is the Titanic, the definitive documentary collection. And this has 4 documentaries, or actually 5. 4, including a bonus documentary: Echoes of the Titanic, Titanic Remembered, the story of Captain Smith and the Titanic, End of an Era, and the bonus documentary Titanic Survivors. I haven't really watched this yet, but I've had this a while, just haven't got around to seeing it yet. But another YouTube user showed this exact same DVD in her collection, and she said it was just okay, so I don't know. I have to be the judge of if it's just okay, or if it's better okay or less than okay. But it's about the Titanic, so it should, at the very least, it should at least just be okay. Alright. I think this is probably the first book that was ever written about the tragedy of the Titanic. The wreck and sinking of the Titanic, the ocean's greatest disaster. With newly recommissioned artwork, Wreck and Sinking of the Titanic is a deluxe reproduction of the 1912 Memorial Edition, edited by the great descriptive writer Marshall Everett, and published immediately after the event occurred. This collectible volume gives a sobering account of the disaster, detailing exciting escapes from death and acts of heroism, I can't pronounce words tonight, not equaled in ancient or modern times. So, this is probably one of my most favorite books that I have of the Titanic. It's just it has so much in here. Like, there's, let's see if there's a table of contents. Like, the Two Titans, story of the Titanic, more of the tragedy, oddities of the wreck, comments of the press, the investigation in Washington, Titanic's dead, brought back. Those are just a very few chapters of like 35 chapters in this book. There's 35 different chapters in here about different information about the Titanic. I haven't read it all, but you can just tell by the cover and by those few chapters I read that it's a really great book. And next, I also just picked this up last night. 101 Things You Thought You Knew About the Titanic, but didn't. Like, a few of those 101 things that you thought you knew is, let's see. Titanic was the largest ship in the world in 1912. Titanic was the fastest in 1912 in the world. The Titanic disaster was predicted 14 years before it happened by writer Morgan Robertson. Titanic was sunk by Mommy's curse. Captain Smith was accident-prone. 2 kidnapped children survived the sinking of the Titanic. Titanic's lookouts could smell ice that night. Titanic struck a blue or dark iceberg. The iceberg ripped a 300-foot gash along the side of the ship. Carpathia was the first ship to pick up Titanic's distress signals. The band played Near My God to Thee as the ship sank. The wreck of the Titanic may one day be raised. Those are just a very few of the 101 things you thought you knew. And the book goes in depth of those 101 things and tell you whether or not those facts are true or not. So, I just picked it up last night, so obviously I haven't had time to read it yet, but I hope to read it soon because it looks like a really great book. And then this one I also just picked up recently, which was, I think it was like 4 or 5 days ago, or maybe last weekend. was Titanic, building the world's most famous ship, and is the official companion to the Nat Geo documentary. So this focuses pretty much on the building of it. So it's kind of like a prequel to the actual story of the Titanic. It's like it focuses on the building of the Titanic. So this was an absolute definite pickup for me because most of my books are on the actual story of the Titanic from when it left, from when it was docked at Southampton, getting ready to go on maintenance voyage, until the discovery of the Titanic in 1985. So this is kind of sort of, just kind of say it's a prequel, sort of. It looks like a really great book as well. All these are great books, look like really great books, and I'm sure they are. I haven't read most of them, but I hope to. And they all look like really great books because it's about the Titanic, so why wouldn't they be great? And this is Unsinkable, the full story of the RMS Titanic. So this is just from, yeah, so it looks like a really good book. I haven't had time to read it yet, but it looks like it'd be another great read. So I hope to read that soon. And the last two books I have to show you are two realistic fiction stories. White Star, A Dog on the Titanic, which I've had for several years now. It's a realistic fiction. There were dogs on the Titanic, if you did not know that, and I think like 3 dogs were able to survive. I don't know the total number of dogs on there, but I do know that 3 dogs were able to survive the sinking. And then the last book I have is SOS Titanic, another realistic fiction, right here. And that's all my books that I have to show you. And then I have another puzzle. It's the New York Times front page of the sinking of the Titanic. Like, Titanic sinks 4 hours after hitting iceberg. 866 rescued by Carpathia, probably 1250 Paris. Ismay safe, Mrs. Astor maybe, noted names missing. Now, you know it did not take Titanic 4 hours to sink. It took like 2 hours and 20 minutes, and there were not 866 rescued. There were about 705. The numbers vary a little bit. It varies from like 700 to 715 or something like that. The actual number cannot be proven of the number of survivors, but it ranges from maybe like 705 to 715 or 720 or something like that. Like varies from about 15 or so. Yeah. And then the very last thing I have to show you is this model of the Titanic right here. This model of the Titanic, which was almost completely done by Robert Smith. Like, I am not a model builder by any means, and I do not want to mess this up. So he did almost all of the work, and I do believe he did a really good job. So I'm glad he was able to do it for me, because I was afraid if I tried to do it myself, I would mess it up. And then here's the stand to go with it, right here. This is the stand that it stands on. And that, folks, is my Titanic collection. And this may seem like a lot, and I guess it is a lot, but I do hope to keep on adding to my Titanic collection. I'd love to have a lot more books and a lot more anything that pertains to the Titanic, because I'm just hooked. I've been hooked since I was probably 7 or 8, ever since I saw the movie, and I just recently started collecting all this stuff. So that's my Titanic collection, and I'll do more update videos as I get more stuff. I don't know how long it'll be before I get more stuff, but I'll have to probably get quite a few more things before I do an update, which will probably be another 6 months to a year, but I will do another update once I get more stuff. Alright, that's all. Thanks for watching. This has been my Titanic collection. So, good night.